Good afternoon and welcome back to the Rockville City candidate interview process. This is the third panel. Today is Saturday, March 2nd, and we are excited to see you all here. We'll start with 2-minute opening statements and then we'll go to the questions. There are 3 questions that we've come up with for each panel, 3 different questions, but they all are on the same topic. So we found 3 different ways to ask the same thing, just about. We will divide up. Each council member will lead one of the question sessions, and then we'll finish with closing statements. So welcome to all of you. We're looking forward to this session. I forgot to say it's meeting number 10-A. So mixing up how we start and go through, I think we'll start with you, Mr. Hedrick. Opening statements. We'll then go to Mr. Gibney, then Ms. Savos, then Dr. DeStanito, and Reverend Wood. All right, welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm James Hedrick. Thank you for allowing me to interview for the vacancy today. I really appreciate it. It honestly is an honor to be here, and I'm really excited. I'm sitting with the wonderful cross-section of Rockville residents, so it's really exciting to be here for that. I'm here today because I have 2 daughters. I have a 4-year-old named Alice. She would tell you she's 4.5. And I have a 1-year-old named Julia who doesn't quite talk yet, so she would tell you. But they'll be living in Rockville a long time, and I think that one of the things that I want to do is bring a perspective of working families and people with children that are going to be here a long time in Rockville to the City Council. So they're going to be going to school here in Rockville. They're going to be playing with their friends at the park, and eventually, God forbid, they'll be driving on the roads in Rockville. So I'm hoping to make a better community for them. It's one of the reasons that I've gotten involved recently in different community associations like the Twin Brook Community Association, on the board of Rockville Housing Enterprises, and recently joined the Boards and Commissions Task Force for the City of Rockville. So I want to help make a better city for my kids and a better city for all the friends and neighbors I've come to know since I moved here to Rockville. I think that one thing I can help when I'm on the council is I have a professional background in local government. I started with HUD and economic development, helping people bring jobs and investments to their community. After that, I did technical assistance as a consultant with federal grants, helping people turn federal money into positive impacts for their community. So I think that gives me 2 things. One is motivation and the other is some practical experience. I've learned from the successes and failures of local officials around the country, working on technical assistance with them, helping them do their grants. And I think that gives me a perspective to contribute to the council sort of from day one. And then personally, Alice and Julie are going to grow up in Rockville. This is going to be their hometown. So I want to help create a hometown for them where they can be happy, they can be healthy, and they can thrive. So that's sort of the reason that I thought it was the right time to sort of ask to be able to serve the residents of Rockville on the City Council. And so I appreciate being able to be here today. Thank you for consideration, and I look forward to the questions.
Thank you so much. Mr. Gibney.
Thank you very much for providing this opportunity to be here today. I appreciate the service you've provided, and it's been inspiration for me watching what you folks have done to be here today. You work very hard, and I anticipate I'll be doing the same thing when I join you. The opportunity for this, as it comes to me, because I want to be involved in the City of Rockville and how it progresses into the future. I've been involved with the Adequate Public Facilities Ordinance Committee several years ago, and I'm a current member of the Traffic and Transportation Committee. I grew up on Long Island, and as one of 8 children from a Marine and a nurse, and learned respect and management by example. Growing up in a household of 10 and watching my mother manage dinner every night was incredible, and I still don't know how she did it. I lived on Long Island for most of my life before I left for school. For all my life before I left for school. I got my degree from Penn State and moved back there to work several years before moving back to the DC metro area. When I moved here, I started working in Germantown, and I worked there for several years before joining Raycal down off Research Boulevard. We used to drive from Research Boulevard across King Farm, a little dirt road, to get to a deli on 355. Several years passed, moved to Pittsburgh for 2 years, and then came back in 1999, moved to North Bethesda, a brand new high-rise right near the White Flint Metro, and drove up looking for a place for my wife and I to raise our family, and we came across King Farm. It had changed dramatically. We bought a house there in 2001. I've lived there ever since. I raised twin boys, and I've been part of Rockville since then, and I look forward to this opportunity to continue watching Rockville grow and meeting the challenges and opportunities that we face and continuing the work that you've done. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Savos.
Thank you very much. My name is Monica Savos, and I've lived in Rockville for 3 years and in the surrounding area for my entire life. Since completing my PhD at the University of Maryland, I've worked as a research economist studying a variety of issues relevant to public policy of all levels of government. I am also a member of the Rockville Environment Commission, the chair of the Climate Action Committee, and the parent of a child who will soon be attending Bell Elementary. If selected to serve on the council, I would work to promote a collaborative relationship with all members of the mayor and council in order to advance compromise and build consensus where possible. My priorities would be to make Rockville more business-friendly, walkable, inclusive, sustainable, emergency-ready, and fiscally responsible. In order to achieve these priorities, I would advocate for strategic development targeted near public transportation hubs and support the Stone Street redevelopment plan. I would serve as an advocate to Rockville schools, to MCPS, to ensure that our students benefit from the tax dollars afforded to us by development. I would also advocate for instituting approval voting for Rockville elections to ensure that the most popular candidates get elected even in a crowded field. I provide concrete ideas on how to achieve these priorities in my candidacy statement, and I look forward to discussing them today. More important than my particular ideas is the fact that I recognize that my set of views are one among many. If selected, I will listen to all ideas, both from the mayor and other council members, as well as from residents and other stakeholders, with an open mind. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Dr. DeStanito.
Good afternoon, Mayor Newton, council members, and neighbors. I am Dr. DeStanito, and I am currently the president of Lincoln Park Civic Association. I am here to represent the Lincoln Park neighborhood and a largely silent minority group in Rockville, the brown and black new immigrants. The important and first step when you wish to be acknowledged is to show up. So here I am, showing up. Mostly, new immigrants' barriers to public debate is the apprehension that the language barrier could be dismissed as ignorance on the issues. Indeed, English is not my second language. English is my third language. So I am hoping that the representation that I offer today will be deemed acceptable. I can reassure that being a contractor for the federal government and subjected to FBI investigation when contracts are renewed, that there is no major flaw in my character. For those who paid attention to the city's affairs over the past 4 years, you already know that I have been involved and you know where I stand. I stand for the voiceless. I stand for more empathy. I stand for more fairness. Rockville is close to perfect, but there is always room for improvements. We need economic development in neglected areas close to metro stations. This will provide jobs and affordable housing for our youth. And we need to plan for an environmentally sustainable future. This does not mean that we need to trample on history. If you do not know where you came from, it will be difficult to know where you are going. Preserving historic sites is important, as they contribute to educate our youth and provide them with a moral compass. I am concerned with representation of our diversity and will propose ways for more inclusion. I believe that all residents should get access to opportunities equally wherever they live. I can be as, if not more effective, as a council member as I was a community advocate if given the opportunity. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Reverend Wood.
It is with great honor and sincerity that I am here today. I am a fifth-generation Rockvillian. I've invested in this community. I've served on the 2012 Charter Review Commission and currently serve on the Planning Commission. I attended Rock Terrace Elementary School during segregation, then went on to Broome Junior High, graduated from Richard Montgomery High School, University of Maryland, University College, and Wesley Theological Seminary. I love Rockville. If I did not love it as much, I would not have stayed in Rockville. My property that I live on Martin's Lane, we've been there for over 80 years. So I believe I bring to the table the face of the past, present, and future, ensuring that Rockville continue to be the safe and walkable and accessible environment that I have grown to love and work and live in. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, now we'll do questions. Councilmember Feinberg, would you like, I think you haven't begun, right? Or have you?
That is true.
Yeah. Councilmember Feinberg.
I would be happy to. So since we began
Your mic.
Thank you. Who was first when we just did the opening? Okay, thank you. We're trying to just be
Okay.
random. So Reverend Wood, I'm going to just randomly pick you, please, and then we'll just swing around and we'll have Dr. DeStanito and we'll continue down the line. Is that okay? The first question, and if you need it repeated, please just give me a high sign and I will be glad to do that. Okay? With that in mind, Reverend Wood, please. How do you integrate or analyze a complex issue in order to come to an opinion or decision?
I do the research on all the elements involved in such a complex system, making sure that all areas of culture and diversity are included. I then consult with persons who have had expertise in those areas. I do not rely on solely my own interests, but what would benefit the citizens of Rockville. So analyzing, communicating with others who have been involved in running the city, and talking with my own colleagues before I come to a decision, but ensuring that whatever decision I come to is not my decision, but a decision that incorporates all facets of Rockville and what is best for Rockville.
Thank you very much. And then we'll start over there, please, with Dr. DeStanito.
So, as a scientist, I have a logical mind, and this is usually how I approach all problems. I observe the element of the problems. I analyze the opinion of the experts. I meet with the stakeholders. I take a summary. I propose options based on a consensus. This is basically straightforward.
Thank you very much. I'm just writing. Many of us are taking notes, so if you see us with our heads down, please, it's not that we're not listening to you, but we're taking notes so we can remember during the course of the today. With 22 candidates, you can appreciate that, please, that we want to be accurate when we take our notes about you. So please, Mr. Gibney.
I was wondering how you're going to manage all
Well,
the
that's
different
why you
individuals.
see many of us with our pens
Nah,
working.
that's
here.
great. I've been in operations and program management for 30 years, and resolving complex issues is what I do for a living. Basically, every complex issue can be resolved, in my opinion, by breaking it down to its details and understanding those details and how they're comprised. And most of the issues that I've faced and how I resolve them are based on data. I like to work with statistics and numbers and making sure that I understand them from a basis of what is the baseline, what is the goal, and how do you get from here to there. And that's how most complex issues can get resolved. One of the biggest tools that I use is actually working with all the stakeholders, dealing with the frontline performers, those that are address these sort of tasks as for a living or performing to achieve the goal itself, and making sure I've got open communication with them, that they feel that they can communicate with me, and also the other powers who are in authority making leadership decisions, communicating those efforts up and down the leadership chain to the individuals performing, or provides the ability for those to have the support of leadership, and also for leadership to feel that they can receive the information for what happens when the rubber meets the road for those frontline folks. And breaking it down from a statistical standpoint, getting stakeholder involvement are the two funnel ways of solving the most complex issues.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hedrick.
That's a really good question, actually. I'll give you two examples, I think, of sort of how I approach these types of issues. One, from a general sense, when I did technical assistance as a consultant and for HUD, I went out to different cities and they all had different types of problems. So all the time when I was going out, it was complex issues that were different and had specific aspects for each town and city that I went to. And one of the ways to approach those is, first you have to talk to everyone, and you never know everyone you need to talk to. You have to find out the things that you don't know. You can't go in there with the plan already thinking that you know everything that you need to know. And so that requires sitting down, finding stakeholders, people that are interested, and then doing outreach and going out to those people and making sure that they give you the information that you need. Then you've got to put it together, and then you've got to make a decision. And making a decision is sometimes the hardest part. You can reach consensus more often than you might think, and getting people into a room and having them come together and talk things out and reach consensus. And then eventually you have to sort of make a decision, and one way to do that is to take all the information, make sure that you're not missing anything, and then make a decision. And then the thing that you have to do, I think, at the end with any complex issue or anything that you have to make a decision on is go back to the people that you brought into the process and talk to them about why you did what you did. All right, you may have made a decision that they don't appreciate. You may have made a decision that supports one group over another. But it behooves you to go back to those people and explain what your thought process was and why you did that in the first place. Specifically within Rockville on the Boards and Commissions Task Force right now, where we're doing, that's a very complex issue with a lot of moving parts. We have everything from bicycle advisory commissions, financial advisory boards, all those kind of things. And what we're trying to do is sort of come together and find a better way to do appointment process, a better way for them to track what they're doing, a better way for them to communicate with the public, a better way for them to operate within their own boards and commissions. And that's a pretty complex issue in itself. And one thing that I did, sort of supporting what I'm talking about, getting all the stakeholders together, is we sent out surveys and questionnaires, not only to the people that are currently on the boards and commissions, their chairs and their members, but also former chairs and the boards and commissions, and then also the public as well. And then we're going to talk to staff and things like that. So that's an example of getting everybody together.
I think that the time, I'm sorry, the beeper went off. It's not
that
me,
an,
it's the
okay,
beeper.
I'll make sure. Wrapping it up. Bring everybody together. That's right.
Okay. And Dr. Savos or Savos? I hope
Savos,
I'm-
yes, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, great, thank you. So I think it's really important when approaching complex issues to actually get on the ground and see the people and places that the issues pertain to. So for example, if I was looking at the Rockville City budget, the staff does a fantastic job taking pictures of the different places where the capital improvement plans are aimed at. I think it's important to actually go out to those sites, look at those places, see what needs to be improved or what might not be in such disrepair myself to actually get a good sense of it. Also, I think it's really important to talk to the people involved, talk to the chief of police, talk to the staff members, see the feedback from the community members and stakeholders. The second thing I would say when I approach a complex issue is that I really try to look around at other jurisdictions and other organizations and see what kind of things people are experimenting with. What kinds of ideas do other people have? Is there any literature on this? Is there any opportunity for Rockville to be innovative and experimental with its organizational structure? So I think I mentioned approval voting in my opening statement. I think this is a real an example of an opportunity for Rockville to improve its institutions based on something that other jurisdictions have adopted. The final thing I would say when I'm looking at a complex issue is I really want to see the summary statistics, I want to see the data, and I want to see it summarized in a way that's relevant. So for example, when I look at the MPDUs, I want to see, okay, what % of families in Rockville would be eligible for MPDUs? What % of those people actually would have an MPDU available? How far is it reaching? Those sorts of things. I've looked at those statistics myself when considering it, and I would do the same thing for other issues relating to Rockville policy.
Thank you very much. And yeah, so we're done. So we're going through.
Councilmember Arnley, would you like to do number 2?
Our city has many challenges and opportunities. Which is most important to you, and how do we move forward? And who do we start with?
You can pick any way you want.
Let's start with Mr. Gibney.
Thank you. I think my exposure on the APFO to basically the traffic and transportation, schooling, the provision of water and wastewater management, and the safety of through the police and fire has provided me with insight to sort of all things coming together as we grow as a city. I think the biggest challenge we have right now is in the transportation side and the growth side, where we're bringing more and more people into an area where there isn't many opportunities for building other than building up. There aren't land masses to provide single-family homes anymore, and so that whole demographic is going to change for the population of Rockville, and we need to manage that smartly. Smart growth, I know, has been a part of the mayor and council's agenda for years. I think you folks have done a great job with that, and that's something we need to continue. Managing how we build in our cities, how we accept new individuals into the city as residents, and also the transportation effects that those have, especially around metro stations and transportation hubs. And I think right now the growth of that and the traffic associated with it along with the school growth that comes with it, is one of the largest challenges and opportunities that we have for continuing our growth as one of the best cities in the country.
Thank you. Dr. DeStanito?
I think my main issue would be with diversity and representation, because they both represent challenges and opportunities. Challenges to reach people across the language barrier, and opportunity because you obtain diverse opinion. First, I think also as far as infrastructure, you need to propose program to include people via transportation. I would like to see a neighborhood interconnector to bridge the gap on both sides of 270 to bring people and bring traffic to downtown. Also, to include minorities, you can reach out to high school seniors. You can promote a commission's position for youth specifically. The high school senior from minority group families can have SSL hours and build their resume for college via this action. And this way you can also engage the whole family. Then you can also give grants that are earmarked for entities like the Rockville Science Center to have minority children included in things like Science in the Park, where you will be having program directly into neglected neighborhood. The other thing is that you need to continue to give community grants program for elaborating the community. You can also utilize more communication, and the network that we use in our neighborhood, for instance, is nextdoor.com. I established the first network in my neighborhood, and we reach about 30% of our residents, and that's a good way to reach out to people. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hedrick?
All right. My background is in affordable housing and economic development, so I think that those two issues are, luckily, some of the most important we face right now. We've had a lot of population growth in the last decade or so here in Rockville, and one of the things that's done is put a lot of pressure, I think, on housing and jobs, both in the city and in the surrounding areas. We have the luck of and the benefit of a lot of people wanting to come here, a lot of people wanting to move here, a lot of people wanting to live in the Rockville area. I think we need to address the fact that we should be a city that should offer them the opportunity to be here if they want to. And I think what that means is we need more housing, and we need more affordable housing. I think the way we address that moving forward is to focus on housing around transit-oriented housing. We've got some really nice benefits here in Rockville with a couple of trains. We've got some nice bus routes and things like that. I think that's where we should focus a lot of development for having housing and jobs, economic development. We also have a lot of developments, particularly along the pike, that were designed for a different era, an era of cars and an era of asphalt. And I think that moving forward, we need to take those and sort of bring them into the 21st century and have sort of mixed-use, walkable places around a lot of our transit, a lot of our transit hubs. And I think that's one of the ways that we address housing and economic development, are pretty intertwined issues. If people can't live here and work here, then it's going to be hard to have them, to incorporate them into our community. So I think moving forward, we really need to focus on that, and we really need to focus on making sure that we turn some of these older parts of our community designed for a different era around the metro stations into places where people can live and work and walk, have parks, rec, all that kind of thing. So I think that's how we move forward with issues of both housing and economic development, which I think are probably some of the most important we face right now.
Thank you. Ms. Savos?
Well, I think that the opportunities for economic development and new housing in Rockville are really fantastic. I think they're going to provide new jobs, new larger tax base, all sorts of benefits to the citizens of Rockville. I think the challenge with it is that we need to make sure that this massive amount of benefit actually trickles down to all citizens and is manifests in an equitable manner. So when I think about that, some of the things I think about is when we have our zoning ordinances, perhaps we should consider different sorts of housing organizations. So for example, group housing or sort of dorm room style housing for adults, maybe smaller square footage requirement for adults or single people who might not want to live in a a large apartment so that they could save on cost that way and be more affordable. The other thing that we need to consider in terms of making sure it benefits all residents is having a sense of connectivity from west of the metro and east of the metro, so that you can, easily walk from one side to the other, and that, all neighborhoods are included and no neighborhoods are left behind in this development. We need to be very engaged with MCPS to make sure that they're keeping up with the schools and that they're using these benefits of development with the increased tax dollars to actually fund our schools, so that our schools can maintain the excellence that they have now. I think in addition to this, we need to keep in mind environmental sustainability and keep the new development targeted towards making Rockville very walkable, very busable, with transportation very easy to have, with transportation not requiring a car. The final thing I would say is that we should take a long-term view on this and recognize that technologies are changing. Self-driving cars might be on the market before the 2040 master plan is finished, and we need to think about the implications of that for Rockville.
Reverend Wood.
I believe affordability and inclusivity are important issues for the city of Rockville. I read an alarming statistic recently that said almost 8% of those seniors 65 and older live below the poverty line. And I think we can do a better job. We're doing a great job in making sure that all socioeconomic areas are included. But I think we also need to look at the impact on the least of these to make sure that they have access to all the amenities in the city of Rockville. I believe that the 2040 plan is an excellent way forward, and we are currently working on a comprehensive plan that will be available for further comment and review, and I think those are excellent way forwards. But for me, is to make sure that everyone can live in Rockville, whether they at any socioeconomic level, that everyone is invited to the table.
Thank you.
Okay. Councilmember Bershela.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So we're going to do this in the following order. I'll first ask Ms. Savos to start, followed by Mr. Gibney, followed by Mr. Hedrick, followed by Ms. DeStanito, and then by Reverend Wood. Okay, so I'll keep track of that. Third question, Ms. Savos, if you start off, please. What's your vision for town center and the metro areas in Rockville?
Thank you. So when Dawson's closed this past October, I was totally heartbroken, and I go there all the time. So this is a really personal issue to me, the troubles that the businesses in town center have had. I think that there's a lot of kind of little things we could do to try to increase access and attract people to town center. But I think the fundamental problem is that there's not enough density to support the foot traffic that businesses need. I think we should address all the other issues of accessibility, of signage, of attracting people there when we have, but I think that's the underlying issue. Now, moving forward in terms of our long-term plan and as we manage, whatever increasing density we might have, I would really like to see I would like to see a focus on walkability, on busability, on public transportation, on pedestrian safety, and this includes making it easier to cross the street, but it also includes making it more pleasant to walk around. So when I think very long term, I think about more green space. I think about having more trees, more park area there to make it somewhere that people really want to walk around, where it's really accessible to walk around and it's very safe to walk around.
Thank you, Ms. Savos. Mr. Gibney, you're next.
Yeah, I think one of the keys to our growth in Rockville right now are how we manage the metro stations and the traffic and transportation in and out of those facilities. Having worked with WMATA for years, I know they have budget issues, and there are certain constraints that they have that we are going to have to accept as part of the city of Rockville. Those constraints extend to those individuals getting to and from the station, and I think part of the growth that we need to orient ourselves to is how do we manage our growth within those constraints at three main stations, Shady Grove, Rockville, and Twinbrook. I travel on Shady Grove on a regular basis, and the dividing line for one side of the Shady Grove and the other side has now been drawn clear. There's traffic issues around Redland Boulevard that are just growing worse and worse. The Twin Brook station has got the opportunity, with all the growth around it, to expand dramatically, and that's an upward growth, and I think that is one of the keys to making that successful from both a availability as well as managing sort of how people are going to work within that particular station. The Rockville station poses a unique problem, and that also relates to town center. It's how do you get people to the Rockville station and out of there and across 355 to effectively support those businesses in the city of Rockville. We've had some issues with making that happen for a lot of the business, and I think that would be one of the main focuses that we look into, is how do we get those people to the Rockville station, over to the town center, make it more walkable, make it more available to individuals, make it more attractive, and then the businesses will come. I think sometimes it's a cart before the horse, or a chicken and egg thing that has to go on there, and we need to resolve that issue in order to resolve the town center and also the metro access issues.
Thank you, Mr. Gibney. Mr. Hedrick, you're next.
I think I covered some of this in my previous answer, but specifically for town center, I agree that density is a major issue around the town center. I also think that the lack of turnover in the blocks around town center, and some of those are doing very well, I think speaks to the viability of the area in general. And I think that there's several businesses that have stayed there for a long time and seem to have done pretty well. So I think one thing that we could do specifically, sort of from an economic development basis, is bring in an anchor. I know that there's been some discussion, a larger anchor. There's been some discussion of the kids museum or something like that within the town center that would bring more people there, specifically for that particular business. But something along those lines. There's a lot, I think, viable about the town center. I think there's a lot that can be done there to both increase density around it and to encourage people to come there. I think the city does a good job of hosting events there. And I think that sort of does a really good job of keeping some of those businesses there, and we should do more of that. There is the issue of getting to the town center and parking issues, and also walking over there. So I think we could look at some more ways to get people sort of from the east side, Twin Brook, East Rockville, Lincoln Park, and then over 355 into there, either by walking or not having to park or drive to go down there. I think more generally speaking, around the metro stations and around the transit options, I think we need more density there. I think that's a way to sort of accommodate the people that want to come in and live in Rockville. I think that somebody said a minute ago that we should welcome people that want to come here. There's a lot of people that want to come here. We've seen that in our population growth, and we need some variety of housing around the metro stations. So we build up, we build different types of apartments, build different types of housing options, townhomes, apartments, condos, all that kind of thing, that give variety to people that want to come in and live in the community that we have here. And I think that that pretty much covers it. Generally speaking, it needs to be transit oriented. There needs to be incorporation of sustainability features within the developments around the metro station. So that means both landscaping, trees, but also permeable surfaces, things of that nature that I think we should pay close attention to, because the development that we do is going to last a very, very long time around those, and we need to keep that in mind as we do, as we sort of work through development both around in the town center, the Rockville Metro Station, and I think the Twin Brook Metro Station, and then Shady Grove as well.
Thank you, Mr. Hedrick. Reverend Wood, you're next.
Growing up in Rockville, I grew up in a segregated system. So I would not like to see Rockville become segregated by economics, that all diverse groups should have the availability to partake in every area of Rockville's businesses. I am the proud daughter of the parade founder, William Bill Wood, and he was able to work with all types of diversity and many groups to ensure that Rockville would have a wonderful parade that continues to this day. So my vision for the town center is that it be more thriving, more inclusive, more multicultural, and to also acknowledge that there are individuals who are wheelchair bound, who are ADA, so we need to make sure that it's ADA accessible, affordable, and that all economic levels will be able to thrive in Rockville and not be segregated because of economics. And I believe that the 2040 plan and the comprehensive plan is still an excellent way forward to make sure that everyone who wants to come to Rockville, those who grew up in Rockville, can continue to afford to be in Rockville. It's a wonderful city. It's a safe city. And I love being a resident in Rockville. and participating as best I can in making sure that Rockville continues to be the safe, viable, thriving, welcoming community that I've experienced for over 70 years.
Thank you, Reverend Wood. Ms. DeStenido, it's your turn.
Hello. Yes, it always bothered me that we have prime real estate property around the metro that are not developed and are like industrial zones, and so that creates a lot of traffic issue and create a lot of pedestrian safety issue. So this area definitely need to be redeveloped. So my vision is to provide more affordable housing so that the youth of Rockville that grew up here and are happy about staying here will come back and move in and provide the foot traffic that is needed for the town center to thrive. So, so foot traffic is important, but also we need to establish the transportation, a neighborhood interconnector that would bring residents from all across the city so that they can come and make sure, gather in Rockville and play and enjoy the town center. The college students needs to also better access to the town center. If you provide a neighborhood interconnector, you will collect kids after school or during Saturday so that they can get access to the memorial library so that they can do their homework as well. So I've been involved in the Stone Street Redevelopment Corridors from the start, and I'm really looking forward for this project to come to fruition. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all. That finishes the questions, and we're now ready for your closing statements. It seems like this went very quickly for me. I don't know about for you. I remember being on your side. It doesn't go so quickly when you're on that side, but we are learning so much, and we appreciate you being here and sharing your thoughts with us. So if you would think about your closing statements for 1 minute, and I've got to think who hasn't gone first. Have we started with Dr. Savos yet? Have we started with her?
James Hedrick, Reverend Wood, Monica Savos.
I've started there.
You did start with her? Okay. We're going to start with Dr. DeStenido.
Thank you. With the current atmosphere nationwide, it is true that even here in Rockville, we started to feel the division that seeps from the federal government nearby. People were ready to assume the worst about their neighbors, culminating with the sanctuary city debate. During the adequate public facility standard ordinance debate, we saw neighbors being pinned against each other for something that the city has not total control or authority over. In such time, it helps to remember that we were not always divided. We supported each other during the school bus depot debate, during the discussion about Chestnut Lodge and acquisition of land for a park for the residents of West End to enjoy. We came together to support town center businesses. We share countless hours planning the future with the long-range planning department staff, excited about the possibilities for our children. We should strive in dark times to cling more to each other and more firmly to our identity, the one of a city proud of its diversity, so much so there are 192 foreign flags floating around its roads. If considered for this vacant seat on the council, each time we will enter and pledge allegiance to the 193rd flag of United Nations, the flag of my adoptive country. This will be a reminder that I need to work harder to erase division under God, with a little bit more liberty and a little bit more justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Reverend Wood.
I very much want to be part of the Rockville City Council. I think my experience on the Planning Commission and Charter Review Commission brings with it a certain wisdom that I've gained by serving on those commissions. My wisdom gained through being a fifth-generation Rockvillian, my experience not only as a pastor of 31 years, but working in other agencies, IBM, the government, small businesses. I think what I would bring is the attitude to build trust, serve with integrity, and to encourage talking across diverse lines and cooperating with one another to make sure that Rockville continues to be the city that everyone wants to live in. It's truly a welcoming hometown holiday every day.
Dr. Savos.
Thank you. Rockville is a great place to live with enviable schools, proximity to metro stations, and residents who care. Not only do we have these assets, but we also have economic opportunities for new development, new job creation, a wider tax base, and innovative new businesses. These opportunities have enormous potential to improve our community, but they need to be managed carefully in order to preserve the character of our neighborhoods, the quality of our schools, and the ability of our public services to handle them. As many have pointed out, this is a very good problem to have. If appointed to serve on the council, I will work to engage the community to make the most of this growth in order to ensure that our public schools and services are enhanced from these economic opportunities. As economic opportunities continue to present themselves, so do institutional and technological opportunities. As Rockville evolves, I hope that it is willing to experiment with innovative forms of organization. I mentioned approval voting as an example of rethinking our elections, and I hope you adopt that proposal. But I also hope that it is the beginning rather than the end of the discussion on how to select representatives and engage residents to the most extent possible. I have described a vision of Rockville that prioritizes a strong economy, a fair voting system, a walkable, bikeable, and busable city, environmental sustainability, and a culture of inclusion. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share my vision and for your consideration of my candidacy. Regardless of who you pick, I hope that you keep these priorities in mind as you move forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Hedrick.
Thank you for letting me be here again. I want to say thank you again. It's I think a couple folks might know what this. It's a really interesting combination of a job interview and my dissertation defense. So I think a couple of folks might know what that feels like here. But I think I've sort of addressed my qualifications and my priorities sufficiently in what we've submitted in writing and what we talked about here today. So I just wanted to reiterate a couple of things before I go. One, I really can't emphasize enough how I've come to appreciate Rockville since my wife and I moved here about 5 years ago. When we moved here, she was about 7 months pregnant with our first child. We were both working full time. I was finishing up my dissertation. It was a touch overwhelming. But from about the minute that we moved here, Rockville really began to feel like home. We had neighbors come over and invite us to watch rugby, which was interesting. We had people get us some tickets to go see the ballet at the Fitzgerald Center. They came over and helped us shovel our sidewalk, which was really nice, since I'm originally from Texas and wasn't quite sure what snow was. So that was really nice. And we've gone to the town center concerts. We've gone and gone to the farmers market and things like that. That's kind of the thing I think about when I think about Rockville, is this community, these events where we all come together, this community we put together with our neighbors. But communities like that don't just happen by chance. All right, it takes a lot of hard work, and I know a lot of hard work for the city council. It takes a commitment to inclusion, and it takes attention to the details of city budgets. It takes attention to details of hiring decisions, 100 other policy decisions that come across city council's desk. All right, so from every walking town hall to every hometown holidays concert, like folks have mentioned, we're sort of going out there and trying to create the community that we want to live in, and that we want our kids to grow up in, and that we want them to have a good hometown where they can be happy, healthy, and thrive. And so what I want to bring is that perspective of sort of working families with kids and some of the background and experience I have working with local governments to try to do more to help create that community and create a Rockville even better than the one we've already got. All right, so I just wanted to say thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to be here today, and appreciate the consideration.
Thank you. Mr. Gibney.
Yes, I'd like to thank you all again for the opportunity to be here. The panel I'm with is providing you with a great selection of individuals to choose from, as well as the other 17 that preceded us and will follow us. And again, so I think you have a tough choice, but I think you have a good choice to select from. My feeling is, as I spoke to you, as watching Rockville grow at such a rapid pace, I think the acceleration is going to become even faster in the future, and we need to be flexible and agile in how we approach the issues that face Rockville. As a member of the Traffic and Transportation Committee and the APFO, I saw how if we develop a smart growth plan within Rockville, we can work with our neighbors to ensure that everything isn't built on the edge of Rockville. We want to bring the revenue and the folks to Rockville in a way that's smart, And the key to that is going to be collaboration with our neighbors in Gaithersburg, our Montgomery County, the Montgomery County Public Schools, and WMATA. It's got to be an environment in which we develop a win-win solution to the issues that we face, because everybody's facing those issues together. The zero-sum solution that you see in politics today is a defeat for everybody. And I think in the city of Rockville, we can make win-win solutions. I think that the opportunity to do so is through exploring a diversity of individuals as well as a diversity of ideas. And I think the opportunity to bring people into the city in the forums that you provide on Monday nights is one of the keys to doing that, and providing the public announcements to let people know they can come and bring those ideas in. I think that's how we're going to get inclusion. I think bringing the minority communities that aren't fully representative to the city, to those events, publicizing them within their community newspapers, publicizing them all around the city, that's going to bring the diverse ideas to the city. And that's what the mayor and council, I hope to join, to filter through those ideas and get through the complex issues and make it work for the city for the future.
Thank you all very much. We enjoy hearing all the ideas and meeting with all of you. Just to tell you the next steps forward, we have one more panel after you, and then the 5 of us will put our top 5 choices, and those 5 individuals will be notified and will come Tuesday evening for the second round. You're welcome to stay and watch, or go home and watch on television if you don't have anything else you'd like to do, and you'll be notified if you're one of the top candidates. So thank you all so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, one thing, yes, Councilmember Onley's correct. Just to let you know that we drew names from a hat and went around the room, so it was individual how people were selected, and then you were put on panels based on where your name was, so that everything was random. We devised 4 groups of 3 questions, all random, how they came out, but they basically spoke about the same 3 topics. So everybody's questions were different, each panel's questions were different, but they were basically on the same topic. So, thank you. Thanks, Councilmember.
One last question. Will we be notified through email?
Oh, I'm so sorry. So the idea of approval voting is that, so right now with our election,